Wake that ass up.
In the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. Lauren LaRosa is our guest host. And we got a special guest in the building.
Yes, indeed.
Miss former Ohio State Senator Nina Turner. Welcome.
It's good to be home.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
You look amazing, man.
Thank you. Can I get up?
Yes,
please
something.
do.
I just want to let you know, Charlamagne threw shots at
tight.
everybody
He did.
because of you.
He did.
One of the producers came back and was like, Nina Turner's here and she's looking amazing.
Yeah.
And Charlamagne was like, well, that's because she's in the gym and she eats well.
That wasn't a shot at nobody.
Listen, let me give a shout out to my trainer, Derek Dardell from DDT. Derek Dardell training in Cleveland, Ohio. The
There you
brother
go.
helping me hold it together.
Absolutely.
Baby, it is.
Lauren, is it all right?
Oh,
is it all right?
What made you want to go down that
Nasty
path
look.
of, getting right physically?
Help, because we need it.
Yeah.
Because, you talk a lot about mental health, and it all goes together. Mental health, physical health, the endorphins you get. And I ain't want to hurt nobody, Charlamagne.
That's right.
so I got to get in there. My trainer is also a boxer too, so I get on the bag a lot too, DJ. And I picture all kinds of faces.
That's the best way to do it.
Ain't trying to hurt nobody
Yeah,
in
you
real
get
life.
that aggression out.
Yeah,
Take the energy out on there.
just a little bit.
How often do you
Absolutely.
train? How often do you work out? Every day?
Almost every day. Yeah. 6
And has your
days
eating
a week,
changed?
70% of it is what you eat, and he tells me that all the time. Now I had gotten smaller than what I am now, and he was a little concerned about it, so he did tell me to go eat some fried fish and French fries, get that back up, because I had lost my sister girl.
Okay.
And
And then
you can lose too much.
What do
But
you
he was joking. I mean, he was just saying, hey, you getting a little too small. So he's a good trainer. It's not just it's about how you feel. He knows each and every one of his clients in a deep way.
Gotcha.
He knows when you're not feeling right. He knows when something is every single client, not just me. And I think that's a special gift. He is a gifted man. I'm going to have to bring him the next time I come.
Absolutely.
People have bonds with trainers that a lot of people don't see because they have that time and they're there for an hour or 2 hours and they're talking not just about training but about life as well.
It's holistic.
Exactly.
Everybody. So I know everybody's going to be eating, from Thanksgiving through New Year's, but we got to keep it together. And this is for everybody, but especially Black people because we go through so much.
Correct.
And your health is ultimately your wealth. And it is spiritual, it is physical, it's mental, it's all of that stuff. But working out, it's not just about weight loss or toning, it's psychological too. It keeps you sharp.
Well, I'm glad because, next year is a presidential election year.
Ooh,
and
don't
boy,
even
it's
get
going to
me
be a lot of
started.
stress on everybody.
Yeah, you said Biden shouldn't win, Shar. I mean, shouldn't run. Shouldn't run.
Shouldn't run.
He ain't going to win. But anyway, you said he shouldn't run.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I think he shouldn't run because he's not going to win.
No, he's not going to win.
So what does that mean?
I wish he would just run in the primary. Can we just start with the primary? At least run in the primary.
Break that down. Explain.
Because we have a primary that the DNC is refusing to acknowledge because both parties, when you have an incumbent, they pretend like competitors don't exist. Primaries are for us to have a robust debate about ideas. And if, in fact, the incumbent is the strongest candidate, then that will come out in the wash, too. It's kind of like training.
Absolutely.
Why not? You got Marianne Williamson running as a Democrat. You got Cenk Uygur running as a Democrat. You got Dr. Cornel West running as an independent. I think Dr. Cornel West and also Robert Kennedy Jr. should be on both stages, but minimally they should be on the Democratic stage. And then you got Congressman Dean Phillips, who has jumped in the race running as a Democrat. If your ideas are all that, then debate them out in the primary so that things can come out in the wash so that you're ready for the main event. But the Democrats have decided they don't want to do that. And so now they have anointed Biden as the heir apparent. Just because you the incumbent don't mean you entitled to a second term. And that's him or anybody else. That goes for me or any other politician. You got to earn the vote each and every time.
What would you say to people who say none of those people you named have a chance in hell of winning?
Well, they won't have a chance in hell to win if people don't know that they're running.
Right.
And the media is very important. And that's what I love so much about the Breakfast Club, because you guys give audience to everybody, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, no party, rock and roll, R&B, however you rolling, because people need to know those other people are running. And if people want to know why governors are not running right now, like the governor of California who just debated DeSantis in Florida, well, he not running because he need to play the game so he can be ready for 2028. If he runs or any of these governors run, they don't have the courage to buck the system. to say that we are in peril. 17 polls have shown President Biden losing. Now, I get it. Polls are snapshots in time, but this is turning into a Polaroid picture. I know I'm dating myself now, but this snapshot is becoming more than a snapshot. It's becoming a very clear picture. Most Americans do not want to see a rematch between President Joe Biden and former President Donald J. Trump. Those are the facts.
Yeah.
That's scary, though. First of all, I just want to say Polaroids are back in. My daughter asked for one for
Okay,
Christmas.
good.
Just to
Okay,
let you know
okay,
that.
so I'm all right.
That's
It's a
back in.
vibe now.
It's a vibe.
It's a vibe
Okay.
now.
Oh, it's a vibe.
But I
Okay,
was, that's very scary when you have everybody, politicians, regular people saying that they don't have faith in Joe Biden. What does that mean? Are people going to go out, or are we just going to give this to Donald Trump?
It's not given though, DJ. It's not. It's a competition. So I need people to understand this. Politicians are not owed anything. I need to come and ask you for your vote. I need to lay down what I did for you. As Miss Jackson asked in one of her songs, what have you done for me lately? You don't owe me as the politician. I owe you. And to think that President Biden is the best or the only thing that we have, he ain't the savior. And I would say this about any candidate. Everybody knows I rocked with Senator Bernard Sanders, who is, supporting Joe Biden. For me, it's what are you doing for my people? What are you doing for the people in the hood where they misunderstood? What are you doing for working class people of all backgrounds in this country? You let the shadow president, hijack your Build Back Better. We ain't built back nothing better. Then you got billions of dollars to send over to war. Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, when she was asked, can we Americans afford 2 wars? She said, "Oh yeah, we can afford it. So if we can afford 2 wars, then we could afford to keep the enhanced child tax credit. If we can afford 2 wars, then why don't y'all go ahead and cancel all student debt and then put a mechanism in place so that kind of debt doesn't happen to college students again? If we can afford 2 wars, then baby, we can afford universal health care. If we can afford 2 wars, then damn it, black people want their reparations.
That's right.
That's all I'm saying. Hey, charity starts at home and spreads abroad. I'm not saying don't help any of our allies, but we got people dying in the streets of America right now for the lack of resources, but they got the pure unadulterated gall to say we ain't got money for domestic issues. What about domestic tranquility? That's part of it too. And so people fed up, DJ. They just, all they gonna say, I don't think people are going, I know there's a poll that says that about 22% of black people are gonna go over to Trump. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But I think most people are just not gonna vote.
I say, okay, Lauren.
Question for you. Do you feel like, though, because of the people that you mentioned, like the Cornel West's and other people that are running on that side, they don't have, the platform is not there. And as sad as it is, a lot of stuff you're talking about, people go and vote just because of who they're hearing about on social or who has the biggest campaign. So what's the real, what do they do? How do they even get next to, Biden has the platform. He's the president right now.
Well, the incumbent is always going to have the upper hand. That's the system. But we live in a time where, baby, you can Google everything. I mean, people got to study to show themselves approved, but media is a powerful force. And you all know that because you hold a modicum of power. To the extent that mainstream media continues to lock out these people, Lauren, then you're right. Most people may never hear them. I think Dr. Cornel West has somewhat of an advantage because he's an internationally known philosopher, international known intellectual. So a lot of people cross generations definitely know Dr. Cornel West. Now, they might not get to know that he's running for president, but he's running. And the same for all the other people. I think Congressman Phillips may have an advantage because he is a congressman. He got that fancy title right now. But the mainstream media is not supposed to be coddling these politicians. They're supposed to open up the airways for everybody and let the games begin. Let's compete for this stuff. So it is shameful that is not happening.
I think, what's interesting to me, Senator Turner, is people are using logic for illogical times, right? Because even when you bring up the polls, people will say, well, polls aren't always accurate. It's not even just the polling. He's polling terribly against a man who has 91 criminal charges, 4 indictments, 2 impeachments. It shouldn't be close.
It shouldn't be close.
A man who said he wants to be a dictator.
Right. It shouldn't
be close. That's why people are like, maybe you need to step aside. That's why David Axelrod is saying, hey, maybe you need to step aside. We can't risk it.
And not be selfish. I think for both of these men, they can run. Right. We know age is a factor, but I think age is connected to economics, how people are feeling about their personal economies. I know that the system, you look at the stats and they'll say, oh, the economy is doing better. But is it doing better for Big Mama? Is it doing better for Big Daddy? Are they feeling it? Because the economy, the measures that we use to say that our economy is healthy is based already on a rigged system. In other words, the system leans toward those who have the greatest wealth. But if Big Mama and Big Papa can't afford the eggs or the gas or everything is going up, then damn what the numbers say on paper. We need to know what is happening for them in their real lives. Now, the point about the polling, again, snapshots, we get it. But unless Democrats make some real deep-seated changes, all them polls can't be wrong. I mean, it's like dropping breadcrumbs. It's telling us something. And so both of those men can run, right? They are allowed to run. I won't say that they shouldn't have the ability to run, but I think it's selfish that they are running. In other words, that's the best we can do in this country, is to have a rematch between two presidents that most Americans do not want. And even Democrats, if you look at President Biden, most Democrats do not want Joseph R. Biden as the candidate. So he's not the only one. He's the only one that the system is elevating in such a way that it's locking out other people who would be logical choices to run. And then you got a few courageous people who have been in this studio, who I just named, who are out there and saying, damn that, I'm running anyway.
Who would you like to see?
Well, me, actually, but I'll put that to the side. You know, ain't nobody better. But I'm not running right now. I love Dr. Cornel West. I think he got the moral courage and the moral fire right now. And then my other choice, if I could vote for two people, for the people that are running right now, it'd be Marianne Williamson.
Absolutely.
Those two are out there doing the daggone thing. And Dr. West has definitely made the requisite sacrifices to be running in this race. But Lauren's point is well taken. You know, he won't get, well, I won't say he won't get the oxygen. It's just going to be harder.
I think it's positioning.
Yeah.
That matters.
I was going to ask you, does it bother you, like what Lauren said, where people are so stuck in a way of, I'm born Democrat, I vote Democrat. I'm born Republican, I'm going to vote Republican. I'm not voting independent because that's the way that I've been doing it. My parents been doing it. My grandparents been doing it. And it's kind of like we're stuck in that zone. I know a lot of people that just go to the thing, be like Democrat, 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 Democrat. Don't even know who they voting for. Just Democrat all the way down the board. Or
especially judges. Judges
Exactly.
really get a free pass. And they're the main ones we need to check out because they got the ability to keep you out free or lock you up. No, it does bother me. But when you know better, you should do better. You know, there's a scripture in the Christian Bible where Paul said, you know, when I was a child, I did childish things.
Right.
It's time for us to grow up and do the research. We have more technology at our disposal than any other generation. So it really is no excuse. I used to do that. Mama say, vote for so-and-so and so, I'm going to vote. But then I matured and I started to do the research and now it's not that hard. So yes, DJ, it does bother me that people are just going, just flapping in the wind instead of doing the study and then asking these politicians, really, what have you done? Not that you like them, not that you want to have a beer with them, not that you would club with them. Because I like a lot of people, but what have you done with the power that you have to change the conditions for the people who suffer the most in this country? If you haven't done anything, then why am I voting for you? And then people say the lesser of the two evils. Well, you know what? Sometimes people just going to throw up their hands and say, damn it, I'm just going to vote for straight up evil. Because I already know lesser two evil ain't getting me nothing, so I might as well go go all the way and just go for evil.
Do you think Palestine and Israel is going to have a real impact on President Biden? Because I hear a lot of people in Michigan, especially Muslim Americans in Michigan, say they not rocking with him, they not voting for him, they not showing up.
Yeah,
like
it will, and I don't think people are going to change their minds. Now, if we haggling over Medicare for all and you don't do it, then I may just go ahead and vote for you anyway and keep fighting you to try to get it. But now we're talking about the slaughter of innocent people in Gaza. Let's talk about the slaughter of Palestinian people in the West Bank. That's not even talked about a lot. But you got 18,000 people dead. You got about 42,000 or so people maimed or injured. You got 60% of the Gaza has been just blown up. So imagine being a son or a daughter or a person from Gaza. Imagine being a Palestinian. And if you live, what do you have? You know, I saw a picture of a she probably was 5 or 6 years old, a Palestinian young girl. She's shaking like a leaf. Traumatized. That's trauma. And if you have children or you know somebody who have children, imagine that was your children. Oh yeah, the Middle East is going to be, blood is on the hands of the United States of America. There's a law called the Leahy Law. And in that law was put in place in 1996. The law says that we in America should not be giving funds to military operators who we know are violating human rights. Just slaughtering innocent people to get at Hamas, I think, is a violation of human rights. You got Netanyahu in 2015 said that under his watch, there would never be a Palestinian state. So now, how, as a Palestinian, then what am I going to do with that? If we take Hamas, evil, vile, what they did, immoral and illegal under international law. Let's deal with that. But 18,000 Palestinians dead, 42 or so thousand maimed and injured. Their entire world is in rubble. If we don't have a ceasefire, how are we ever going to get to peace? And then the mental impact on the people who survive, on what just happened to them. That girl shaking, that baby shaking, is many like her. What is she going to think growing up? You think she going to be in love with the system? No, she's not. And so to keep Israelis safe, Palestinians got to have self-determination. To keep Palestinians safe, Israelis got to have self-determination, but they do. They control the water, the electricity. So we're not looking at this in a way that's very holistic. The UN has said this, don't do this. Many of the human rights organizations across the world said, don't do this. All I want to know is how many people got to die before we realize that you can't war your way to peace.
Yeah, Senator Bernie Sanders was on this weekend, and he said that we have to stop giving Israel a blank check
without conditions.
We have to stop giving them a blank check so they can stop killing innocent, civilians and children. And I feel like, man, why aren't people talking about that more? Like that point, because everybody was focused on him saying we can't have a permanent ceasefire with people who want permanent war. You think it's justified?
Look,
the flack he's getting, the backlash he's getting for that?
Some of this stuff is incongruent. Now, I'm with the senator on don't just give Israel or any other country just a blank check. If we paying for, my mama say, I paid for this. You live in my house. I pay everything. So you going to do what I say do. The same thing applies here. If America took a moral position on this to say, you know what? I get it. What Hamas did was rotten, evil, wicked. Hey, go after Hamas surgically. But there comes a point where there are too many bodies laying in wake. How many more bodies? I just want to, how many more bodies is it going to take? So although I appreciate Senator Bernard Sanders saying, don't just give Israel a blank check, but at the same time, the senator doesn't want a permanent ceasefire. So how do we get to permanent peace? At some point, people got to stop the shooting and the bombing, and most of those bombs are coming from Israel. They in our name. Those bombs are made over here. It's our money. So we are culpable for the deaths of the Palestinians. And you know what? It's not only going to impact you and you and you, me, it's going to impact our children, our children's children. See, now you're messing with my stuff now. And all the money that we send over there, whether it's over there or in the Ukraine, is less money that we have to have universal health care, canceling student debt, name the things that we need. Water systems. Hell, Flint, Michigan still got dirty water. The Democratic Attorney General in Michigan dropped the case. So now you got people who live in Flint who just got to live with it. And I can go on and on and on. What are we going to do on the domestic side of the ledger? And Israel certainly is our ally. Israel has a right to exist. Israel has a right to protect itself. And what about the Palestinians? Because I learned in math, what you do on one side, you got to do on the other. Right. So what about the Palestinians? And what about the innocent Palestinians? Over 50% of those people are kids. It's a very young community. They didn't vote for Hamas. So at what point, how many bodies? I just want to know how many bodies. So Shar, look, I get it, but see, you got to have a ceasefire. I don't know how you get to peace without a ceasefire. And then how do we get to a permanent peace where Palestinians have self-determination? I want our viewers and listeners to know they don't control electricity. They don't control food. They don't control water. They don't control all of that. So how can you control your livelihood when you can't control the basics? Maslow's hierarchy of need is in play here. And so we got to put ourselves in that place. Remember Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., not the only one, but he is the symbol for it. As long as he was talking about civil rights for black people, it was all good. But when the Reverend Doctor started talking about the Vietnam War, they like, oh, hold on, brother. Hold on. Now you done got out your depths. Now we ain't going to allow you to talk about that. That's the same.
That's when he became a communist.
That's it. That's the same thing happening right now. We got to stand up for humanity because but by the grace of God, that could be any of us. So no indiscriminate killing of Israelis, no indiscriminate killing of Palestinians. And when you hear a baby cry, until you look at that baby, you don't know what their race or ethnicity is. All you know is that you're hearing a baby cry.
That's real. Damn. Woo. Now you have a new worker power organization called We Are Somebody.
We Are Somebody. I brought
you
some
mugs at.
Where the mugs were in here. I don't know what happened.
You know what's so crazy? Sim came in here with like 4 of them, but never put them down. Where? Oh, I see it.
We are somebody. Yes, we are.
So Workers' rights should be codified into legislation. Strike without fear. Rebuild the middle class.
Absolutely. Unions do matter.
One job should be enough too.
One job should be enough. People working. I remember when I was growing up, an extra job was an extra job.
Absolutely.
But now an extra job is mandatory because of the way the economy is rocking. CNN did a poll and they basically asked people, how you feeling about the economy. In 2020, at the height of COVID, people, were saying, I'm feeling pretty good. 2023, they're not feeling good. And you know why they're not feeling good? Despite what the economic indicators say, they're not feeling good because those safety net measures that we did during COVID,
Taken away.
they're gone. So people are not feeling good about the economy right now. Working class people, and I mean all working class people from all strata. Some people may be in the 6-figure range and some people may be, just barely making it. But baby, we all working class unless you got a sugar mama or sugar daddy or sugar somebody. And I don't mind having that, someday. Let me just put that out there. But I'm a working woman and I'm blessed. But working class people got to come together, and that's what We Are Somebody is about. It is a capacity building organization for working class people, whether they're unionized or not, because people deserve to live a good life, and you shouldn't have to be ultra wealthy to live a good life.
Are you pushing to change things like the 40-hour work week?
40-hour work week, yeah. Hey, Fridays off. Working with a group, One Fair Wage, ran by an extraordinary young woman. First name is Saru. I hope to get her on the Breakfast Club, but her organization is. Next year, there'll be 13 states that they target. 5 of those states will have ballot initiatives. The others of the states will have legislative initiatives, and that is to do away with the sub-minimum wage. And I don't think people understand the history of the sub-minimum wage is really to mess over black women.
Break it down.
Where that industry said black women, they don't deserve to be paid. Let them get tips. So now you got to get your money based on the largesse of somebody that's coming into the restaurant. And one thing that Saru said, what they meant for evil for black women now reverberates to everybody, because now everybody in that industry, sub-minimum wage, the average wage is about $2 and some change. You may live in a state where it might be a little higher, but every time we go to a restaurant, those people who are serving us our meals are depending on us to give them a tip to supplement their wages, and that should not be. So that's one example of a project that We Are Somebody's going to work on the legislative side, because if you change legislation, helping unions is a beautiful thing. It only helps those members, and that's good. If we want to enlarge that territory, then we got to do ballot initiatives, because laws do matter, and put laws in place that do away with the sub-minimum wage. Can you imagine somebody, as hard as them people work, only making $2 and some change?
That's right.
That's crazy.
And I cannot believe we still talking about this in the 21st century. Those are the kinds of things that, President Joseph R. Biden and this Congress could be doing when they had the opportunity to increase the federal minimum wage from $7.25. They decided not to. You remember they did a hard pass and they blamed it on the parliamentarian. They could have done that. That's when the Democrats controlled both chambers, and they didn't do that. The PRO Act didn't do that. George Floyd didn't do that. So yeah.
I was going to say, so you talked about the safety net, right? And with the safety net during COVID, there was, of course, they were giving money. They were helping people out with their, whether it was car loan or mortgage or whatever it may be.
The PPP loans.
PPP loans. What will help people now, right? Because you look at people losing their jobs. I was telling Charlamagne earlier, one of the gaming companies just had to get rid of 1,100 people. Spotify just had to get rid of people. So many people are losing their jobs. Interest rates are at an all-time high. People can't buy houses or automobiles. When you look at food costs are through the roof. If you ever look at a price of eggs or some orange juice or just normal things that people would need to survive, as expensive as ish, what will people have to survive? You already said that people are not getting paid in a 40-hour work week. So what can be done? And is that the reason why people are looking for Trump and not Biden, because they feel like Trump will send out some more checks with his name on it or whatever it may be? Is that some of that reason? I'm
going to be flipped for a minute.
Yes.
Poor people don't need eggs. They don't get to eat eggs. That's basically what this is coming down to. Eggs cost more than chicken wings.
Yeah.
Material conditions of people have to change. The motive, people vote when they hopeful. And they ain't got nothing to hope for. They not going to go out and vote. What I believe, this is not about Trump. And so this Trump derangement syndrome is just blowing my mind. This is more about who has the power right now and what they're going to do about it. Yeah, you don't keep bringing up Trump, but Trump ain't been in office for the last almost 4 years. So it really is up to this administration and this Congress, Democrats and Republicans. We ain't gonna let them Republicans off the hook, but they done showed themselves to be just outright, just totally lost their minds. But if we put them in the parking lot, what substantive things are Democrats doing other than blaming Trump and telling people, oh my God, if you vote for Trump in 2024, it's going to be the worst thing ever. People living in worse times right now in this particular moment. Dita, you asked me what would be some of the fixes. First of all, this Congress could restore the enhanced child tax credit that lifted millions of children out of poverty. We lifted them out of poverty only to catapult them right back into poverty. What sense does that make? It makes no sense whatsoever. They can pass the PRO Act so that workers can organize without being retaliated against by the man or the woman that runs the company store. They could do those things. They could cancel all student debt right now. Again, the Treasury Secretary said we got enough money for 2 wars, where there's a war brewing right here in America against everyday working class people. We need a social contract. We need a humanitarian way, a human rights economy. And that's the kind of thing that I do at the New School as a senior fellow. Shout out to Dr. Derek Hamilton. We need a human rights economy. And in that human rights economy, it said that there are some basic things that everybody should have. Healthcare is another one, DJ. If everybody had healthcare and it wasn't commodified, it wasn't tied to a job, people would do all kinds of creative things, but they can't because it's tied to a job, underinsured and uninsured. So those are things. Inject that money into the economy domestically and give people the freedom of mind and body and soul and spirit that they need and deserve.
I know you talked about the middle class catching hell, and you talked about hopelessness right now.
Yeah.
A lot of times with me, I feel like when I have the political conversations like this and voting, I have friends right now that are saying they're not going to vote at all because they're in that space that you're talking about. What do you think is like the best thing for people? Like, how do you put that aside? And I mean, I know it logically makes sense. Like, we need to be able to get out, vote, change the world and all that. But the people that you're talking about, it goes over their heads. Like, they don't feel like if I vote, something's going to change. They're just tired of what they're going through right now. What do you say to those people? How do those people get that hope back to feel like if we do this, things will change, local level, federal levels, like?
Yeah, I get that, Lauren. I'm not one of those politicians that say, you don't have a right. People have a right to feel the way that they feel. But I would say you got to vote mad as hell. You still got to vote. Everybody should vote. But this is especially for Black people. People literally died. And we are so far removed from that generation. We don't teach it enough. DeSantis don't want it taught at all. But that don't stop us from going into our Black churches and doing it anyway. People literally died for it. Now, a lot of people, because Teslin, would say, well, people don't want to hear that they died. But they did. People died. And what she means by that is sometimes that's not enough. And that's what you're saying too, Lauren. You got to be in it to win it. The game going to happen. Either going to happen to you or through you. Right? It's going to happen to you or through you. It can happen through you by you getting out there to vote. You can have a lot of impact on local elections, probably even more so than the federal level, but all elections matter. There's no such thing as an off-year election. So people mad as hell, I get it, but you still need to go vote. But voting is just one part of the process. When our foreparents were fighting for the vote, they understood how pivotal it was to give Black people voice into who could represent them. That's just one part. We now have to take that to the next level and say, not only do you have to vote, but you got to hold these people accountable. You got to keep the score. And if they not doing what they told you they were going to do, damn, lesser of the two evils.
Right.
Hey, I'm just going to find me another candidate and vote because as Big Mama would say, I can show you better than I can tell you. They just got to stop accepting it. So I get the frustration. Voting is just one part of making the change or being the change in your community. You got to be actively involved all the time because justice is not a destination. It is a journey. Too many people don't want to make a sacrifice. We ain't talking about, being in a Montgomery bus boycott for 381 days. We just asking Lauren, people, can you just go to the polls and vote? That's all we ask. We ain't got them kind of auction block problems that our ancestors had. So why can't you vote and be mad?
Well, what if I agree with everything you're saying, but what if those people say, you know what, you're right, but I want to vote conservative.
Vote any way they want.
I want to vote independent. Yeah.
Which is that's
vote
happening.
however they want. Because again, I believe politicians need to earn the vote. We have conservative Black people, and I ain't mad at it. You don't put all your eggs in one basket. We got liberal black people. I'm a little mad at that because I think the black bourgeoisie or black moderates are part of the reason that black people are catching hell. And I'm writing a book about that. I'm writing a book about that.
They get on my nerves so
They get on mine too. they the ones. You know, we talk a lot about the white liberal, but we don't talk about the black folks that's standing in the way of black liberation. Why isn't the Black Caucus the main people down there saying, where is black people die at higher rates? Where's the universal health care? What are they doing? Now, I ain't talking about individual Black Caucus members. They can bring me the smoke if they want because I'll bring it back to them. But where is that moral consciousness? It was a time when the Congressional Black Caucus was the moral consciousness of the Congress. But when you go to their little things, hell, they bought and paid for it too. Sponsored by. So people should be able to vote for who the hell they want to as long as they vote. Now, it's my job, if I want you to vote for me, is to try to convince you to do that. Now, it's a lot harder. What I'm saying is easier said than done because then big money will come in, right, and tank the whole process. We get that. But ultimately, I, as a politician or a public servant, have a role to play in that. So vote for whoever they want to vote for. Just go vote.
And you say you're writing a book about?
About how the black moderate is the biggest threat to black liberation.
Damn.
Oh, yeah. More than the white liberal. Because, Minister Malcolm X warned us about the white liberal. Dr. King warned us about the white liberal. But we have done very little study about the impact of black moderates on black liberation. I'm coming for them.
Why do you think they are stopping progress so much?
Because they stand in the way. Black faces in high places, they ain't standing up for nothing, and they give people shields to not do enough for black people. If you ain't standing up for your own people.
Just okay with being the one.
That's, you preaching.
No, you preaching.
They preaching. They just so giddy about being in the damn room, they forgot why they in there. Titles are good, but purpose is better. We need purpose-driven people in those rooms, especially black, because and the onus is not just on black people, but when we move, foundations shake. The world shakes and shapes. It changes. Civil rights movement, just one of many examples of how when we move in a way that has an eye towards justice in all of its forms, everybody gets it. We got to move, especially us. Not only us, but especially us. And if you see black people languages, if you see a legal system that sees only black people, because Justice over there that y'all got over there on that, she ain't blind. She see us all the damn time. When you have a system that barrels down on one group of people disproportionately than anybody else, somebody got to say, this ain't right. And if the Congressional Black Caucus won't say, this ain't right, why didn't you pass the George Floyd Policing Act? This ain't right. Why didn't the John Lewis voting rights law pass? Or why wasn't y'all on table? See, I get on the table, but I want people to think this is a family show. But why aren't you doing those things? Why you ain't say gas up the jet? Why didn't you stare the shadow president down, Joe Manchin, and say the hell to the no? You not gonna do away with enhanced child tax credit? I got too many poor people and struggling people in my district. The moral consciousness is lost. And that is what is happening. They try to guilt people into voting for people. I ain't here to guilt you to vote for nobody. Because I tell you what, if they not delivering, they got the power. I got 2 toddlers in my life. And I have higher expectations of them than we do of these politicians. Right. Oh, they didn't have enough of a majority. But that ain't what y'all said when y'all was running in 2020. You said give you the majority, you was going to make some things happen. And you didn't. What are you willing to give up? I think a lot of politicians, especially when lives and livelihoods are at stake, you need to run like you only going to get one term. And baby, if I was running for president and I got it, I'll be up in that piece like, hey, they ain't gonna put me back in here. But I tell you what, they gonna know Nina Turner was here.
And that's all we want, somebody to fight.
It's because you're a black woman, though. It's different. It's different. They running real lax right now.
They running real lax right now.
And that's all we want, somebody to fight. No saying black moderates will be like, it's Congress, it's Congress, it's Congress. Well, give Congress hell then. At least give Congress hell on behalf of the people. Because I know one thing, that damn Trump say what you want. He gonna give his people hell if they don't do his bidding.
Hey, yeah, and he let it be known. I mean, the difference between him is covert and overt. These other politicians, they do it covertly. They want to be. They gonna come back at some folks. They gonna seek retribution. Trust me, I've been in the holies of holies. But Trump make it plain. I'm coming for you. So now, the difference between the fox and the wolf. I know how to deal with the wolf because you just told me exactly what you're going to do in lieu of the fox. Yes, is Trump neo-fascist? Is fascism dangerous? Yeah, it's a difference between knowing that you got 10 hours worth of oxygen and not knowing at all. Maybe if I know, I might be able to survive.
That's right.
So we got to deal with neo-fascism, but don't forget neoliberalism, meaning keeping the status quo, breeds neo-fascism. And so my party, the Democrats, have to run like Trump is a clear and present danger.
That's right.
And not put the onus on the voters and not try to, and then don't y'all come in here shaming black people when what's going to go down in 2020 because we done warned you.
That's right.
And don't put it on us because we vote overwhelmingly for Democrats come hell or high water, whether they do anything for us or our children, our children's children. And I don't think that's right either. We need to change that. But don't blame us.
And that's the other thing. We're not telling Biden not to run because he's losing the black vote. He's losing the vote.
Oh,
period.
everybody.
Yes.
He's
Young
losing
people,
the vote. That's right.
Arab American
Independents,
people,
Latinos,
everybody. It's
Asian
everybody.
Americans. Yes.
The polls show most Americans do not want to see a rematch between these two presidents.
That's right.
But yet and still, they not doing what we ask. Other leaders would bubble up to the top if they had space to do so. But when you are within the machine, so Lauren, if you were, so Biden said, you decide you want to run, if you run, then they're going to remember that, see? And then when it comes 2028, they're going to punish you for challenging. So that's why you have people like Newsom and some of these other, governors. And don't get me wrong, they're not the only ones that's qualified to run. I'm just naming them because in the trajectory of things, people really see, if they're a governor or a U.S. senator, they should be the one running. If they stepped out there to run right now, then it's going to be retribution against them in 2028.
What 2028? We might not have a democracy.
I know that. Hey, we might not even be here.
No elections.
Hell, the world might not be here.
Seriously.
That's another reason why we need to go for peace. There is a ripple effect. Those of you who play domino, you understand how when the dominoes fall, they fall. What's happening in the Middle East is happening over here. In other words, none of us are going to escape what is happening in the Middle East or Ukraine. Let's talk about the continent of Africa, what's happening in the Congo. See, we don't talk about that. What's happening in Haiti, all of that has a ripple effect on each and every one of us. So that's why I want peace. Peace ain't soft. Peace is strong. It take a lot to want to have peace. I want peace so I can have some peace.
Right.
That's right. WeAreSomebody.org.
WeAreSomebody.org,
Yeah,
baby.
we appreciate you for joining
Always
us.
a pleasure,
Yes.
Senator.
I can listen to you talk all day.
Oh, thank you, Lauren. And I am going to go on your website and get some of it so I can
We'll talk. Make
stretch
sure you
your
get some stuff.
fast.
You must you had to change your whole wardrobe, huh?
I did. Oh my God, DJ. But it was a good
There you
feeling.
go.
Let me tell you, baby. Can I tell you how much I love y'all?
We love you. Love you.
God. And I feel that and I know that. I got this Charlamagne, DJ, Lauren. I mean, you create space for black people, but I want to say particularly you create space for black women of all ages and all stages, and I love you for that. And I got to shout out my one of my advisors, Teslin Figaro.
There you go,
Big
Tiz.
Tez, she do it, don't she?
Absolutely.
But I just love y'all so much. I love our people. I love all people. I love black people. And the reason why I want to see people lifted, because I want people to be able to live a good life. I think everybody should be entitled to do that. Systems can change. Policies can change, and we got to make sure it happens. So nothing but love. Happy holidays to everybody.
Nina Turner,
right.
ladies and
Nina
gentlemen.
Turner.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.
Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.